So in order to design your own cams, we need to see what went into making the various cams that we've been working with so far. And so the point of the next few videos is to see, well, how did we make all the cams that we've been working with? And what specific tricks, or not specific tricks, what tricks can we incorporate into building our individual cams, designing our own cams, but also what standards go into the cams themselves. So obviously we need to learn how to put the work planes in the right places. How do we know where the work planes go? We need to know what the extrusion length is and what the size is, or the size of the axle hole, I should say, because those are all standard. And hopefully by the end of these videos you can see what is standard and what I can apply to my cam design if I want to. And for the cams that we don't cover, you can always go in, you can open them up, and you can look at the sketch that was used to create it. You can see where the dimensions are and the constraints are, and you can do this for various ones. You can open up the sketch for anyone and see what went into making that. But let's go ahead and start with the standard cam that we've been working with so far in these lessons, which was the Pear 2 cam. So how do we make that? Let's go to File, New, Standard Document. Let's go ahead and start a new sketch. Let's start on the XY plane, the front plane. And then we're just going to draw a circle. Let's put it on the center. That way it's on the origin. That just gives us a simple place to start with. Let's tell this to be 1 inch in diameter. And then I'm going to add a second circle, and I actually want it to line up along the line. It doesn't really matter where you put it, but it is important that you get it on the top. Oh, actually, it's not that important because we can actually constrain that, and we will in a second. But I do want it to be above the other circle. I'm going to draw one, and I'm going to tell this one to be 1/2 inch in diameter. And then I'm going to add a constraint. So as you can see, if I click on the circle, I can move it anywhere I want. I want to add what's called a vertical constraint. And I want to constrain the center of my top circle with the center of my bottom circle, my big circle, my little circle, I should say, I guess. And now this circle can only move up and down. And we need to fully constrain this. It says there's 1 dimension needed. Let's add that 1 dimension. What we need to do is we need to tell it how far away the little circle is from the big circle. So we'll do that with our dimension tool. Let's go ahead and click on the 2 center circles. Actually, I think we could have just clicked on the circles themselves as well. That's a little bit easier. And let's actually hit the bottom circle here. Hold on, let's hit Control-Z. We had a little mistake there. Let's hit Dimension. Let's click on the 2 circles, drag it out, and yeah, it still gives us the height difference. And then we can hit, let's give it a distance of 1 inch. And depending on what cam you're making or what you're trying to make, you can vary these dimensions. Although we do want it to be between 1 and 2 inches. That way it can fit in our design. So for example, if we look at this Pear cam, you'll see that this one was the same idea. It's 1/2 inch instead of 1 inch. Which is why the Pear cam is a little bit smaller than the Pear 2 cam. It's 1/2 inch shorter. But from here, all we really need to do, well, there's a few extra steps we need to do, but all we need to do to finish our sketch is connect these 2 circles with 2 lines. It doesn't really matter where on the circle you get it as long as you connect it to the circle, because we're going to add some constraints to make it exact in just a second. The next thing we need to do is add a tangent constraint. Some of your lines might already have tangents on them. I don't know. We'll find out in a second. I'm going to click on the line and the circle. I'm actually going to click on each line to each circle. So there should be 4 tangent constraints put down in total. And if the tangent's already there, it'll tell you. So if you accidentally already put a tangent constraint, it'll say something like this. This will pop up, hey, that sketch constraint already exists. No big deal. The goal is to get it fully constrained and where it's all, well, purple. And the last few things we need to do to this sketch before we can extrude it is, well, we need to trim off the features that we don't want. So we don't want the bottom of this circle, and we don't want the top of this circle. And then all we need to do is add our axle hole. So let's go ahead and click circle. Let's put it in the center here. And depending on what you're trying to build is where you'll put your axle hole. You'll need to dimension that yourself. But I'm going to lock it on so that it's concentric with our bigger circle here, because that's how the Pear cam works. And here is a standard that you always need. Your axle hole always needs to be 3/16 of an inch. So I'll just type in 3/16, which comes out to be about 0.188 inches. Now we can finish our sketch and we can extrude it. And this depth, this extrusion depth, is actually also a standard that needs to be true for any cam that you create, and that will also be 3/16 of an inch. And let's actually type in 3/16, just to keep it consistent and easy to remember. It's just 3/16 of an inch. That's the standard. And the last thing we need to do is add our work planes. And the work planes have a standard as well. We need one that goes through, well, the center here, or right through the middle of my two planes. And then we also need one that goes right through our axle hole. So let's go ahead and see how to add those. So to add one right through the middle, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the work plane that says mid-plane between two planes. I'm going to click on the front and the back. And you can see we got a work plane going right through the middle, which, as you've seen, we need, absolutely need, to constrain this to our assembly box, our camshaft itself. We also need a cam that, or a work plane that allows us to attach it to our axle handle so it's angled off and they always spin together. And so to do that, what we're actually going to do is we're going to use our offset plane this time. And we're going to find one of our origin work planes. And the one we want one that goes through the center. So you'll see, like, for example, this one doesn't really go through that center. And technically, we could use this one, although it doesn't always work. The YZ plane is usually pretty good, depending on, but you can play around with it. You can see which one you need. The point is we need it going through, if you look, through the center of our axle hole. And I'm going to offset it. Well, it's asking how far off you want to offset it. So I can move it this way or this way, but I don't want to. I want it to be offset 0 inches. And that's how the Pear 2 cam was designed. Hopefully this video showed you how simple making a cam can be. And hopefully the next few videos will also show you different tricks to get the parts or the movements of a cam that you would want, or the dimensions of a cam that you would want, to see how simple designing these can really be.